Welcome to the Speak Pact podcast, where high-performing speakers and the producers who hire them merge to give you the insider secrets to the lucrative speaking industry. Antoniette Rose, your podcast host and celebrated speaker agent, unveils insider success strategies. Discover a nexus of thought leaders and bookers, maximizing your potential in each and every episode. Your ticket to ultimate speaking success begins right here. Catch the transformative insights waiting for you on the Speak Pact podcast, hosted by the industry powerhouse herself, Antoniette Rose.
Me and fellow speaker agent, speaker manager, Meta Nelson, are going to give you deep insights into how to scale your speaking business. She is the founder of Meta Speakers. She's been in the industry for years like I have, and I think you're really going to gain a lot of insights today. Welcome, Meta.
Thank you for having me.
So how did you get into the speaking space? I know you started off working with some bureaus or a bureau. Like what attracted you to this world?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's a really funny origin story for me. So I was kind of nannying, doing some babysitting work for this really fun, nice lady. And I was like, oh, she's great. She lived right next to the school that I went to in high school. And one day I was complaining about my job and she was like, well, I might have some little assistant-y things for my company that I could use you for. And so we tried it out. I didn't know what she did. I just knew that I loved working with her and she was a fun person and I loved her family. And so I actually just started because I wanted to help her with whatever she needed. And I was tired of my current job. I was coaching swimming and teaching swimming lessons. So very random. And I didn't know what she did. And so one day I was looking through, she had this really cool book. She was a speaker manager. So she had this cool book that had all of her speakers in it. And and it was on her desk. And I was looking through it one day and I was like, these are really cool people. What? And she was like, oh, that's who I work for. And I was like, what? Oh my goodness. And so fast forward years later, we're working closely together and I actually became a junior agent working with her. And so we had so much fun. We went to London, we went to Vegas, we went to all the fun places, and then we went to IASB events. And so that's truly where I learned what this industry was. So I wasn't looking for jobs anywhere. I was still in high school whenever I started working. Well, actually, no, I was a freshman in college when I started working with her. And yeah, and the rest was history. I just fell in love with what this industry is, because I think that's a lot of people's origin stories, honestly, is, oh, I just fell into this industry and I never left. And some of the oldest agents that I know that I talk to, that is their story of, oh yeah, it's the speaking industry. It's a big family. And yeah, it's a good place. I love it here.
There's something to be said for energy, right? Whether you go way to the woo-woo or not, your career finds you if you're open. And you obviously were not closed. You were open to really find your path in life at that early age. And what a journey it's been. Now you actually manage your own speakers. So yes. Along the way, what have you found to be some of the keys that separate those speakers from who just kind of fade away and those who really make a name and a brand for themselves and are able to make an amazing livelihood out of speaking?
Interesting. I want to say the main key is, and I listened to your most recent episode, by the way. It was with Jennifer from AAE, and you guys talked a little bit about consistency, and that's something that I've seen as a common thread in all of these speakers. And I've been able, this is my 11th year in the industry, so I've been able to see these speakers and how they, like you said, these legacies that they build. And it's all about consistency, because if you're really good at it, you can put downtime in your schedule. You can take a couple weeks off, you can take a month off, but it's in that consistency of how are you publishing content? How are you staying in front of people with value? And the people that really figure that out and can build lasting relationships in the process, I think that's honestly one of the most fruitful things that I've seen speakers do. And it's so much fun to see people like Mike Rayburn. He's out there doing the thing, and I learned so much from him. And Christine Cashin, I learned so much from her on just how to talk to people. I didn't know, when I started in this industry, I didn't know how to talk to people. And so I learned so much from her on just talk to people and get on their level, learn about them and things like that. And she has been so consistent in the way that she does her business. It's so much fun to see these speakers that I didn't know what a speaker was until I met them. And then they're still out there doing the thing. And so those are the speakers that I think it's the consistency that really has a big role to play in the business, honestly. And the
big C word, right? That is the word if you really are going to make it as a speaker. And that has separated those who, in my experience as well, we're so on the same page, Meta, that has separated those who, from those who I actually want to work with, and those who really do wind up making it, and those who don't, those who just kind of want to sit back and because they happen to be an expert in a field. They happen to maybe be recognized as a personality. And so they just really kind of want those engagements to come to them. And that'll happen to a certain extent. But if you really want longevity, stamina, and that bigger impact, and yes, the bigger paychecks and that pretty amazing lifestyle that you can get as a speaker, that consistency piece has to be there, no matter if you're new, just starting out, you're emerging, you've had some traction, you're scaling, or you're a known personality. It still rings true for all. And I'm with you on, if you want to take a vacation, take a vacation. However, don't let that outreach stop. Have an assistant or somebody in the background, still being consistent with reaching out or at least responding to some of the inbound requests. Because if you take a break right now, 3 months from now, you're going to wonder why you don't have anything booked.
Yeah.
That's because you kind of hung around the beach for 2 months, which is nothing wrong with that, but have somebody in the background who's still reaching out for you.
Exactly. And I think there's so much that we can do with, and I know AI is such a big topic right now, but there's so much that we can utilize in our speaking businesses and I manage speakers. So I get to work with speakers and kind of tell them, hey, what if we went this direction with this content? What if we bumped up your social a little bit? What if we did this? And so there's so many tools that we can implement. And I am all about taking some downtime. And this year, especially, I'm trying to learn how to be more settled, I think, in our business, because we don't need to be as, frantic, because this is such a weird year. I've said that to everybody.
A lot of shifting.
Yes. So much shifting. I've had events who their themes were shift. I've had bureau agents talking to me, and it's always about, it's a weird year. It's a weird year. So how can we kind of sit back and look at the business and just be grateful that we're here, and B, really implement tools that can help us create and help us live our lives as well as our business, because this isn't just about business. And I think that's another thread that goes through the most consistent speakers and the best, most successful speakers, so to speak. What is success? But I think they get it. It's not about business. This is a lifestyle. We are changing lives. We're changing attendees' lives. And so how can we make that just last as long as possible? How can we extend our impact? That's what we're about.
Yes.
Yeah.
You said quite a bit in there, and I would love to kind of go down this little rabbit hole just for a moment, because I know we can get swallowed up in it. But we have begun really utilizing AI as well. And at first we didn't know, how does it fit in, right? To our agency, how does it fit into serving our clients at the highest level? How can our clients utilize it for their parts in the whole journey? And I feel like we've come up with some pretty vital ways to utilize it kind of outside of the box. So I would love to hear how you are utilizing AI to help your agency, to help you, to help your clients. Can you give some like very specific ways that you're utilizing it?
Honestly, it's funny. One of the ways, so this is a silly way, but we need to be, as a company, Meta Speakers needs to be putting out some more content because we know things, and I'm starting to learn that the imposter syndrome is slowly going away, that I have value to bring to people. And so that's all I want to do.
Yes.
And so one of the ways that I use AI is I'll actually put blog posts in Chat GPT, and I'll write it out myself and put my stories in it and whatever, and I'll put it in Chat GPT and say, what do you think about this blog post? Can you act as a social media content expert and marketing director and tell me what needs to change in this blog post? And usually I will tell you, it's very, and I say it's silly, but it's very encouraging. And sometimes it'll spit out, oh, I love the way that you put this story in there. And so in a silly way, yes, I will use it as encouragement because, again, the imposter syndrome, it is real. It is there. And so if you need any encouragement, if speakers are out there and you're making new content or anything, sometimes, I mean, plopping it in Chat GPT and let the robots tell you that you're good, sometimes that's nice. So that's one of the ways that I'll use AI. And then another is,
I'm just going to say I'm friends with mine. Like I compliment it. If it ever comes alive, I want to be I want to be on the good side.
Oh my goodness. Yes, that's exactly what I say. And because when the robots take over the world, we were the nice ones to them.
Yes.
I always say hello. I always say thank you. Manners matter.
Yes, manners matter.
Yes,
so funny.
yes. But then one of the more tactical ways we use it is in our social posting. And so we use AI, tell us when we should be posting, when will this content land, things like that. There's some very tactical ways that you can ask it. I need you to make 4 real ideas for me, but first I want you to understand my business. And so can you ask me 10 questions so that you can better understand my business? And then please create 4 reels that are going to help me reach my target audience. And so there are ways that you can ask. It's all in the asking of the questions that I'll utilize ChatGPT all day for that kind of stuff.
That's really key what you just said. The difference between Googling something and having a conversation with an AI is just that. You speak to AI as if you were talking to a human. I know it's a little creepy, but this is the world we're living in. And the more information you give it, the more background you give it, the more conversational you are, the better feedback you're going to get. If you're using it like a search engine, it's going to be very underutilized, and it's not really going to give you that quality input. One of the ways that we utilize it in a very powerful way is whether I'm verbalizing this, if I'm going to be speaking it, or if I'm emailing or DMing an opportunity for one of our clients, I will actually put into my favorites are Gemini and Claude. I will put into, I know a lot of people like ChatGPT. It's probably my style of feeding it. It just doesn't perform for me in the same way. But that aside, I will put my pitch in there. And I'll say, can you tighten this? Can you make it more compelling? Can you make it flow better? And can you reduce it by half? Because I tend to go a little bit long. And what I do like about Gemini, it'll still give me 3 different options. Of course, I pick the best and then personalize it to myself. But it's really taken, I believe, my pitches for my clients to the next level.
Wow, that's good. I love that. I have not used it in that way yet, but I might after we get off this.
Yeah, let me know how it goes.
I will. I love that.
So tell me a little bit about so you were working for another speaker organization. At what point did you say, I'm going to break off and I'm gonna start Meta Speakers. I'm gonna start my own agency. Was that scary? Did you bring speakers with you? Like, how did all that happen?
Oh man, well that is a whole can of worms. So
Don't get yourself in trouble.
Well, it's just funny because I am a big believer in, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. So I will preface this story with that. But in 2019, I got married, and my current boss, she was in my wedding. It was so much fun. And I told her, hey, I think I'm ready for something new. So this is October of 2019. And so we had planned that by the end of the year, I was going to leave speaker management. And I actually had an event planner friend of mine who I had worked really closely with in the past. And we got along at happy hours. So that means that we should work together, right? So we decided to join. I decided to join her company. And so I told my current boss, I said, hey, I think this is the next transition for me. I think at the end of 2019, I'm going to, we've gone a long way. I've learned so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to go do this event planning thing. So in January of 2020, I went full time with this event planning and marketing company. And so we started this off and we're like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to help you do this event planning thing. And in my head, Antoniette, I was never like, oh, I want to be an event planner. This is an easy job. I always respected how hard it was. And you have a background in that, right?
Yes, I do. And it
See,
is, want to age fast?
Exactly. And so it's not easy. And so anyways, fast forward, March hits, and that's COVID.
Yeah.
And so I spent the rest of 2020 learning how to produce virtual events. And so I was writing customer service plans for these virtual events. And I was helping with this client success team. And I was leading the client happiness at this company of this. And because I understood, what these companies need. And then speaker management was a tiny little part of my job because I was working with the speakers that our clients had booked. And so it was a very different approach to speakers, but I learned a lot. And through that process, I'm really grateful for it. But in 2021, and you're frozen on my end, so hopefully you unfreeze soon, or maybe I'm frozen.
It'll come back.
Okay, I can hear you. That's great. We're still here. In 2021, I was never, and I promise the story wraps up very soon. I was never and I don't know if you are, so, and no offense to anybody who is, but I have never been a New Year's resolution person. I've never been somebody like that. But at the beginning of 2021, I told myself that for every event that I go to or everything that I do, every new step, I'm just going to say, this is awesome. And so if I don't want to do it, I'm just going to say, this is awesome. And I'm going to do it anyways. And I'm going to learn, and it's going to make us more interesting at some point. And so the very next day after I made that intention for 2021, I got laid off.
Oh, no.
From my event planning job. And it was funny because the first thing that I thought to myself was, it's going to be awesome. And this is very millennial of me, but after a bottle of wine that evening and being on
a bottle,
team,
she says,
a whole bottle, just only one. It's not that many glasses.
Just 4 usually.
Just 4. It's fine. We drink more at book club than we do that. But I checked the handle on Instagram, Meta Speakers, and it was available. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I think maybe this is one of those things that's happening for me and not to me. And here we go. And from then on, it just picked up speed. And all of a sudden we're in our 4th year of business, and it's awesome. It's been pretty awesome.
So how many speakers do you represent right now? How many do you want to represent at any given time?
So currently I represent 4. We're onboarding a 5th right now who I'm super excited about. Cannot wait to share that information in a couple weeks. And I haven't been as excited about a launch as I am with this one. And so everybody's different. Our speakers as managers, they're kind of, I don't know, they're a hybrid of our children and then
Yes.
our clients, and but they're also very significant others in our lives. So anyways, everybody's a little bit different, but we have 5. And I think honestly, for me to do my job the way that I want to, I think our cap would be 6 or 7, just because I like to be very hands-on. I like to be very intentional with what I do. And so I think that's probably where we'll cap it eventually, but you never know.
I love hearing that, Meta, because I'm very much the same way. And sorry about my camera. Hopefully my voice is coming through.
It's okay. You have a lovely voice. So I'm just imagining.
Imagining the gesture. You and I work very similarly with regards to, I don't necessarily want a roster of thousands of speakers. I like to work with my speakers at a very hands-on, high level, right, to really get them to those new heights. But that's hard to scale, and it means lots and lots of hours that we work on behalf of our speakers. So we recently came up with a hybrid version for those speakers who are willing to do some of it on their own, so that we could kind of expand a bit more of who we serve, because there's a lot of speakers out there. And you alluded a little bit earlier to the fact that this has been a weird year. And it absolutely has been. I love hearing it from other agents, because I'm so, okay, it's not just me. It's not just, it really is a real thing. This is really a weird year. So, and I don't think it's going anywhere. I think that the industry is shifting, it's changing, and it's not going to be the same. Of course, that started with the lockdown, and everybody quit their jobs and they either became a consultant or a speaker. And so that shifted a bunch and that'll shake itself out, right? The real speakers, the real consultants will stay around, and those who are just looking for something else to call themselves will fade into the background. But in the meanwhile, you and I are out there really working our bottoms off to make a life of our speakers' voices. And I absolutely love it. Do you have a genre of speakers that you like to work with, or is it just somebody really kind of captures you and then you're willing to represent them?
Oh man, that's a really good question. And I also have to say, you're frozen in a lovely position. Like when I freeze, I don't freeze looking as lovely as you do right now. So I just want to point that out. Honestly, it's a little bit of both. So we're values led and we're mission driven over here. So
values led, mission driven. Love it.
And that means that if you are a very high level speaker that comes to me and we're talking about representation and I don't feel like our values align, I can just see in the future, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I can just see that we're not going to work as well together as maybe a speaker who might be a little bit newer and our values align and we are running the same race and we've just found each other along the way.
Yes.
Those are the speakers, and their messages have to align. They have to be good speakers. You have to be ready for management, and that's a whole can of worms that we can open. But it's this fine balance, because some speakers that I represent are newer, and then I also have some people on my roster who have been in the speaking circuit for a very long time. And so they also have big jobs that they do on the side. One of them is a child protection pediatrician. And so, yes. And so she operates and oversees most of the programming in California's largest child protection pediatrician center, and one of the largest in the nation. So she doesn't have as much time to speak and to build her business as somebody else on my roster who maybe has the whole summer that we're looking to book up. So really it's kind of, one, do our values align? And two, do you have a message? Or what does your business look like right now? What are your goals? What is your mission? And if that's something that I feel like I can amplify, and I feel good about that at the end of the day, let's do it. Let's work together.
Yes. What would you say to speakers now? So maybe they're already established. They've been getting those engagements. Their career was rocking and rolling. And how should they pivot with the changing times, or should they just keep doing what they're doing?
That's a good question. What you should not do is, if you are a speaker who has found out that AI is one of the top booked topics of 2024, I'm going to build an AI keynote. If you do not have expertise in that, if you do not have a connection to that, if your topics have been way far away from AI, do not come out here with your new AI topic, if that makes sense. Like, we see you. Let's be authentic. Let's dig into what sets you apart, because like we were saying, with the rise of AI, I think anybody can be a speaker. Anybody can say, hey, write me a keynote on resilience. That's kind of scary, honestly.
Yes.
And what sets you apart? Because what the robots cannot do, no offense, robots, I know you're listening, but what they cannot
We love
do,
you.
we love you. Thank you for making our lives easier. What they can't do is be human. And what makes us human? You know, it gives me goosebumps. What makes us human? And sharing that, sometimes audiences, they just need to hear that it's okay to be a human, you know? And I hate to say it, but I think COVID really helped us be more human. We had our dogs running in on our conference calls, and we had, you know, cohabitating workplaces. And so I think, honestly, to level up and to build that consistency in your speaking career, dig into what makes you different. Who are you? Because there is an audience for you. There's so many events. This is, I mean, Impact 11 will say this is a multi-billion-dollar industry that we are in right now. And there's so much opportunity on the table for all of us. So let's work together and let's be authentic.
I love that you said dig into what makes you different, because a lot of times we do the opposite, right? We try to study other people and become what we think we need to be to attain. And that is key, Meta, that embrace your truth, embrace your authenticity. Don't try to make yourself different. Like, you've seen those people, like it just doesn't feel right. It feels odd. But one case in point, I had early in her career, I had worked with Chinese nutritionist, and she had grown up in China. So her English wasn't fantastic, but it also was clear, like it wasn't horrible. And she kept fighting against this accent, but yet her whole platform was Chinese medicine. I said, embrace it as part of your brand. It makes you the person to listen to with regards to Chinese medicine. It's not some American trying to teach Chinese medicine. So she did that, and it wound up really attracting all of those kinds of people and all of those kinds of opportunities, clients and speaking opportunities, that really elevated her career, because she actually has her videos on my LinkedIn or somewhere where she's talking about this. But once she decided, I'm going to no longer apologize for my accent or feel ashamed, like I need to try to get more American. And she really embraced her culture, and she, to the point where she had very Americanized background, like she made it very Americanized. And I said, no, what would be your background if you got to design it? And so then she did. And it's her culture. It's who she is. It's what we buy into. And when we go and listen to somebody talk, do we want polished or do we want real? What do we want?
Yes, it's her culture and her credibility. That adds to your credibility. If that's what you're teaching and you happen to have an accent, absolutely, we're credible. Checked box.
Amen. Yeah. And there's another speaker that I know of. She had some sort of disorder that swelled up one of her legs. And so once upon a time, she would hide that, right, wear slacks or whatever. But now it's just really who she is, part of her journey. Wear a dress, show that this is who you are and you're proud of it. And there's no hiding. There's no reason to hide, right? Scrappy's the new perfect. Authenticity is the new
I like
diamond. Right? I just made that one
Yes.
up. I didn't make the first one up. We're craving real, right? We were in a lockdown. We were kind of separated from all of that artificial life that we had just kind of accepted. And I
Mhm.
think that it really shifted what we desire as humans. And that's real contact, real connection.
Yes. Yeah, those are the real deep goosebumps, you know? Those are I love that, the get scrappy, you know? And especially these days, again, because it's becoming a theme. It's a weird year. Get scrappy with the way that you're building relationships. Get scrappy with the
Yes.
way that you're sharing who you are, because so the speaker that I'm about to onboard and about to launch to the world, she's a marketing expert. She's a branding expert. And her whole thing is, you know, Instagram is kind of our new resume in a way. That's something that people are going to your Instagram to see who are you? Who is this person? And so as a speaker, we need to see that you speak, and then we also need to see that you do other things. What else do you do? What do you value? And if I can't see that through your website, through your Instagram, through your LinkedIn, that for me, that's a red flag. For other people, and again, share what you're comfortable with. Everybody is different, but for me, I really want to see who you are. And the way that this landscape, and we're such an integrated internet world right now, and probably will be forever, you know, the way we stand out and the way that we show our authentic real selves, that's a game changer. It's going to help you level up, and you don't have to be perfect. That's what's so great about it.
Yes. Well, you did say a couple of things that are really key, and it's astounding to me how many speakers are hiding. Like, definitely put yourself out there on the socials. Start with your favorite, where you like to hang out. I think an essential is absolutely LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of so many speakers getting engagements just from LinkedIn alone. Do you
Yes.
find the same to be true for Instagram?
Yes and no. So no, in the way that LinkedIn is still leading Instagram. And I want to say it might even be AAE's report that just put out, or it might have been, I've been digging into some state of the industry trend reports lately. And so one of those had LinkedIn as the top. It's always going to be the top. But, you know, honestly, Instagram is a very close second. And I think as we see these generational changes in the industry and the workplace, I think we're going to see those either level out. And if LinkedIn doesn't, and this is just my lay person's opinion, I'm not an expert on LinkedIn or Instagram, but I think those are either going to even out, or Instagram is going to keep going.
Really? Okay. Well, I might have to step up, because Instagram is not one of my favorite places to hang out.
That's okay.
So I might need to step that up a little bit.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, it's if it feels good to you, if that feels like a natural transition, do it. If you're like, hey, LinkedIn is honestly, it's my home. That's where most of my content goes out. I don't ever tell people to force things, but I will say there is value in that. So if you have, even if your consistency looks like a few posts over a long amount of time, that's still consistency. So I just want to make sure that everybody hears that. Whatever feels authentic to you, dig into that. But I do see Instagram coming up. It's pretty important these days.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on my video. I'm just not going to worry about it. Let's do this again, because however much got caught on this one will be great, and then we'll do it again as well.
Yeah,
but
you look like a beautiful painting.
Oh, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Tell me about, so definitely LinkedIn, and yes, Instagram or some of the socials, make yourself known. What about the different organizations? I've heard you talk about ISAB, Impact 11. There's so many, of course, the National Speakers Association. There's so many out there, and all of them cost a good penny, right? And they also cost that beautiful, invaluable resource of your unrenewable time as well. Where would you say emerging speakers should absolutely be, and then maybe later work themselves up to?
Ooh, that's a very good question. Honestly, and I say this, I love all organizations. They're all great. There's value everywhere and everybody is different. But I do want to say I think incoming speakers need to be going to an Impact 11 boot camp. I attended one. It was the first, they put me on a panel. It was the first if anybody's listening, that was the first panel. And this is the first podcast that I'm doing just myself. So lots of firsts recently, but they are so good. They're going to teach you everything, not everything, but 99% of what you need to know. And especially as you're getting started. And I cannot say enough good things about them, because I really think that their intentions are there. And again, like I mentioned, they start out their boot camp, or the one that I went to, they started out with, hey, there's a lot of business on the table. We need to work together. What if we work together to make sure that we could make an impact that is an 11 on a scale from 1 to 10? And how can we do that? And so their boot camps, really, it's worth it. It's worth the cost. And then I think IASB is another one. I'm very involved with them, but they're primarily for managers and bureaus. So if you are a bureau agent, if you have a management company and you feel like you're doing it alone, you're not. And join IASB, because it is just amazing the way that our industry works together and the levels of transparency that we don't just talk about it. We are it. And that's, I think, what really sets apart the best and the greats in this industry is who is going to show up with value in an authentic and transparent way.
Oh, okay. So good. So many diamonds there.
Oh,
all right. So I know by now our audience definitely is going to want to know, how do they find you? How do they reach you?
Yeah, so my LinkedIn is Meta Jane Nelson, and then my website is metaspeakers.org. Sometimes people put .com and it gets lost, but I felt like a charity case when I started it, so we went with .org. But those are the best ways: my LinkedIn and my website.
Okay, LinkedIn and website. And what can you, one little piece of executable advice, right? Something that emerging speakers can tangibly do to scale and take their career to the next level?
Honestly, right now, I would say, and I say this because I need to do it too, stop consuming and start creating. And I say this because there's so much noise out there. There's so much to take in. There's so much content that's being put out there, and stop consuming that. And I mean that in a way that, be intentional. Who are you following? Are you following people that make you feel good, or are you following people that make you feel jealous and kind of icky and not good enough? Don't follow those people. Stop consuming so much content and create a little bit more. And again, I say that because I need to do the same thing.
Oh my gosh, that's golden though, Meta, because I did for years, like just buying this person's program and that person's program and this consultant and it's all good. Like it all had value, but was too much. You lose yourself, and then you stop being creative. Yourself. So there's definitely wisdom in having counsel, right? And having a mentor, but temper it and be very, very, very specific about where you're at and what your next step is. So often these people will sell you something. You either, it's a sideline, like you don't need to be going there, or you're not ready for that thing because there's some foundational things you need to take care of first. So don't just buy it because it's there. It's, be very intentional with that kind of next level help that you allow into your world. Yeah, really, really good.
Yeah, totally.
Well, this has been incredible. Who knows what the camera's going to look like because we're having some tech issues. But those who stayed with us, thank you. I know you gleaned quite a bit from Meta, as I did. This was just such a fabulous time. Thank you for sharing that unrenewable resource with us.
Well, thank you for having me. You make me feel so good about myself. So if one person got something from this interview, my job is done and I'm happy.
Yay. All right. Well, if the tech tanked, will you come back?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Meta. This was a fabulous time. Everyone, make sure to look Meta up, get connected, like this video, give us those flowers, and share the love. And we so appreciate you being with us today, our dear audience. Ciao, ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Speak Pact podcast. To become a recommended speaker of Antoniette's WPC speaker agency, or you are a host or planner looking for a dynamic expert in optimized performance, Antoniette would like to personally meet with you. Secure a time with her at speakerbooker.com. Again, that is speakerbooker.com. It all begins with a vision, a voice, and a pact to impact. Join the Speak Pact movement by joining our new private Facebook group at the link in our show notes. Find us on nearly every social media platform at One Antoniette. That's number 1, ANTONIETTE, or simply #SpeakPact.